The crack of Beaumont Fitzgerald's palm against Alana Brooks' cheek echoed through the vast marble foyer, sharp and sudden as a close-range gunshot. Her head snapped violently to the side, the coppery, metallic taste of blood immediately flooding her mouth. Her vision swam, blurred by hot, stinging tears that she absolutely refused to let fall. A last desperate act of defiance. The exquisite baccarat crystal vase she had been painstakingly cleaning slipped from her suddenly useless, trembling fingers, exploding into a glittering thousand-piece shard storm across the polished Italian marble floor, mirroring the soundless disintegration of her last vestiges of dignity. The venomous, petty words Beaumont had been preparing, the epithets of clumsy and pathetic, died abruptly in his throat. The oppressive, stifling warmth of the room seemed to drop instantaneously, plunging the air temperature by 20 degrees, replaced by a sudden, chilling stillness. Alana blinked through the haze of shock and searing pain, looking up to find a figure she had certainly never seen before. A man in an immaculate, razor-sharp charcoal suit stood precisely between her and Beaumont, his broad back facing her, perfectly motionless. He hadn't burst in, hadn't rushed, and hadn't shouted a single word. He had simply materialized, an immediate, undeniable presence. Beaumont's already pale face drained completely of color, becoming the sickly shade of old parchment. Mr. Ferretti, the man, Niccolo Ferretti, raised one finger. Just one. It was a gesture of such total, silent command that it brooked no argument. Beaumont's mouth snapped shut with a sharp, audible click of teeth. The silence that followed, thick and heavy with unreleased tension, was the most terrifying thing Alana had ever experienced. In that silence, she heard a promise being delivered, loud and clear, without a single word spoken. Her cheek throbbed relentlessly, her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird, and she had no earthly idea that this single, shattering moment would change absolutely everything about her life. If you want to discover precisely how Alana Brooks' precarious world collided with the most dangerous man in the city, a man whose reach extended far beyond wealth, and what happened in the explosive aftermath of that silent protection, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view helps bring more visceral, compelling stories like this one to life. 3 hours earlier, Alana Brooks had already been enduring a different kind of hell, the familiar, grinding kind. She stood hunched at the obscure employee entrance of the sprawling Fitzgerald estate in the brutal pre-dawn darkness. The damp, clinging cold of the morning had soaked through her second-hand sneakers and the thin fabric of her uniform. The colossal mansion loomed above her like a cold, imposing monument to everything she was, and everything she would perpetually be denied. 42 lavish rooms designed to house 3 people who barely spoke to one another. Her cheap phone buzzed, a harsh vibration against her hip. A text message from her neighbor, Mrs. Chun. * Micah asking for you. Said his tummy hurts. * Alana's chest constricted painfully. Micah, her 5-year-old son, was the precious, tightly guarded secret she protected more fiercely than her own heartbeat. No one at the Fitzgerald estate or even the hiring agency knew about Micah. Single mothers were automatically categorized as unreliable and distracted, according to the agency's draconian rules. So, she had lied on her application, and she worked 3 punishing jobs to afford the crumbling, mold-scented studio apartment where her baby slept. Give him ginger tea, she texted back quickly. I'll be home by 2. You're 2 minutes late. Alana's head jerked up in startled reflex. Beaumont Fitzgerald stood framed in the massive doorway, his silk robe hanging open carelessly over designer pajamas that cost more than her monthly rent and utilities combined. His pale, cold eyes raked over her from head to toe with undisguised disgust. I'm deeply sorry, Mr. Fitzgerald. The bus was delayed. I don't pay you to manufacture excuses, he sneered, stepping aside just enough to force her to squeeze past him into the marble foyer. There's a charity gala tonight. The entire house needs to be flawless. Everything must be perfect. Alana swallowed her resentment, grabbed her cleaning caddy, and headed toward the foyer. The morning light filtered through the towering, floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating an obscene, almost sinful level of wealth. A crystal chandelier hung overhead, its value exceeding that of most suburban houses. The marble beneath her feet was imported, she knew, from some specific, rarefied quarry in Italy. She worked methodically, efficient, silent, and entirely invisible, the perfect servant. The priceless crystal vase resting on the center table caught the rising morning light, refracting dazzling rainbow prisms across the ceiling. It was impossibly beautiful, impossibly fragile, and probably worth more than every single possession she owned combined. She lifted it with scrupulous care, holding her cloth ready to clean the dust from the table beneath. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Alana's heart stopped dead in her chest. Beaumont stood poised at the top of the grand staircase, his face contorted with a petty, consuming rage. "I'm just cleaning with your filthy hands on my mother's baccarat crystal?" He descended the sweeping stairs with the aggressive, measured pace of a predator who has cornered his prey. "Do you have any remote idea what that's worth?" "I was being careful, I promise. Careful. You people are all exactly the same. No respect for quality. No comprehension of value." The words landed harder and inflicted more damage than any physical slap could have. "You people." Alana's jaw clenched, a tight muscle knotting in her cheek. She had heard sickening variations of that condescending dismissal her entire life, but she needed this job. She desperately needed the money. She needed to survive and get home to Micah. "I apologize sincerely, Mr. Fitzgerald. I'll be more." The vase tilted in her grip, just a fraction of an inch. A tremor from exhaustion, from chronic hunger, from the sheer, crushing weight of holding her life together, ran through her arm. Beaumont's hand shot out like a striking viper. The crack of impact echoed again through the vast, unforgiving foyer. Alana's world exploded into blinding stars and searing, white-hot pain. The priceless vase tumbled, shattering upon the marble floor. Blood instantly filled her mouth, her ears rang deafeningly, and tears blurred her vision as her cheek erupted in agonizing fire. Through the haze, she saw Beaumont's hand rising again, poised for a second strike. Then, silence. A sudden, overwhelming presence. A man stood between them. Alana blinked rapidly, struggling to force her eyes to focus through the pain. Where had he come from? She hadn't heard a single footstep, hadn't registered an opening door. He was simply there. Tall, massively broad-shouldered, with dark, neatly cropped hair. The suit he wore was less clothing and more a kind of bespoke armor, and his unnatural stillness was infinitely more terrifying than any overt act of violence could have been. "Mr. Ferretti." Beaumont's voice trembled with an emotion Alana had never once heard from him before. Fear. Utter, naked fear. "I didn't know you were. This is a private residence." Niccolo Ferretti did not turn around. He offered no acknowledgement. Beaumont stammered, entirely undone. Ferretti's focus remained fixed on the billionaire, charged with predator intensity. He raised one single finger. Beaumont fell instantaneously silent. Alana remained frozen, her hand pressed instinctively to her burning cheek. Who was this man? Why did Beaumont Fitzgerald, a man who habitually treated senators like hired help, look like he might actually collapse and wet himself? Niccolo's hand moved slowly, deliberately. He retrieved a pristine white handkerchief from his breast pocket and finally turned. Alana found herself staring into eyes the color of a winter storm. Cold, meticulously calculating, and absolutely merciless. But when those icy eyes landed on her face, on the thin line of blood trickling from her split lip, something flickered deep in their depths. It was raw fury, but not at her. It was fury for her. He stepped closer, and every primal instinct screamed at her to flee. This man was unquestionably dangerous, but he moved with extreme, careful control, like someone handling something unbelievably precious. He lifted the handkerchief toward her face, paused just inches away, asking for permission without a single word. When she didn't pull away, he gently pressed the cool linen to her bleeding lip. His fingers never actually touched her skin, but she felt the radiating heat of his proximity nonetheless. "What's your name?" His voice was quiet, accented, Italian silk wrapped tightly around unyielding steel. "Alana. Alana Brooks." Alana. He spoke the name as if he were filing it away, committing it to memory. You're hurt. I'm fine. His eyes narrowed infinitesimally. He saw immediately through her desperate lie. Behind him, Beaumont made a small, choked sound. A whimper barely disguised as a cough. Nicolo's jaw tightened. He turned to face the billionaire. You will transfer ownership of this property to me within the hour. Below market value. 70%. What? That's. You will also liquidate your holdings in the Fitzgerald Foundation and donate the entire proceeds to. He glanced back at Alana. What charity do you prefer? Alana blinked, completely lost in the surreal transaction. What? Education, healthcare, children? Children's literacy programs. She stammered out weakly. Children's literacy programs. Nicolo repeated precisely to Beaumont. All of it. By the end of business today. Beaumont's face had cycled from deathly white to mottled purple. You can't just. I can and I am. 2 words delivered with absolute, chilling certainty. My family will receive nothing from this estate, and nothing from the foundation. You'll keep your penthouse in Manhattan, your car, and $1 million in liquid assets. That's generous, considering. This is extortion. Finally, Nicolo smiled. It was the most terrifying thing Alana had ever witnessed. A cold, beautiful curve of the lips that lacked any warmth or mirth. No, Mr. Fitzgerald. This is mercy. Be grateful I am in a forgiving mood. Others who have laid hands on what's mine have received far less comfortable retirements. Asterisk what's mine? Asterisk the words echoed confusingly in Alana's head. She wasn't his. She didn't even know him. The paperwork will be couriered within the hour, Nicolo continued, his attention back on the defeated man. Sign it or I'll take everything. Your penthouse, your car, your reputation, your freedom, your life. Beaumont stumbled backward, tripping clumsily on the bottom stair. Nicolo turned away from him dismissively. His attention returned wholly to Alana. You're coming with me. What? No, I can't. You're injured. You need immediate medical attention, and you no longer work here. Panic flared instantly in Alana's chest. But I need this job. I desperately need the money. You will have money. I can't just accept charity. Then you will earn it. I require someone I can implicitly trust in my household. Someone honest, someone loyal. He smoothly pulled a business card from his interior jacket pocket. It was black matte with stark silver lettering. My driver will take you for a medical evaluation, then to collect anything you require from your current residence. You'll start Monday. I haven't said yes. Those winter storm eyes studied her intensely. No, you haven't. But you will. The sheer arrogance of his declaration should have infuriated her. Instead, it made something dangerous flutter low in her stomach, because she knew, terrifyingly, that he wasn't wrong. Why are you helping me? She asked, the question barely a whisper. For the first time, his expression softened, just slightly, tragically. Because someone should have helped my mother. The words were quiet, definitive. He nodded once, a brief dismissal, and walked toward the grand entrance. At the door, he paused. Your son, Micah. He'll have access to the best pediatrician in the city. The estate has a children's wing. He is welcome there. Alana's world violently tilted. How did you? But he was already gone. She stood completely alone in the echoing foyer, surrounded by the glittering debris of shattered crystal and her utterly shattered understanding of the world. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Asterisk a car will arrive in 20 minutes. Take anything you need. You won't be returning. This was madness. This man was clearly dangerous, a figure operating in shadows. But he had stepped between her and violence without a moment of hesitation. He had avenged her without being asked. He had offered her not charity, but employment, dignity, and a fighting chance. Alana looked down at the handkerchief, still pressed against her lip, pristine white, except for the vibrant red stain of her own blood. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt something else entirely. A strange, fragile, overwhelming sense of hope. The car that arrived was a massive black Mercedes SUV with windows tinted so darkly they looked like voids of absolute nothingness. The driver, a large man with a passive face, opened the door without a word. Alana hesitated briefly on the sidewalk, her pathetic duffel bag clutched tightly in one hand. This was her last clear chance to simply walk away. She got in the car. The medical evaluation was surreal and disconcerting. It took place at a private clinic with no exterior signs, no waiting room, and no other patients visible. A sharp, professionally detached doctor examined her split lip and bruised cheek, prescribed potent antibiotics, and sent her away with detailed instructions to ice the swelling. Crucially, the doctor meticulously documented everything with clinical photographs, then handed the complete file directly to the driver. *4 Mr. Ferretti. The level of control was absolute. The driver next took her to her apartment. Mrs. Chun opened the door, Micah's small, trusting hand clutched securely in hers. "Mama!" Micah launched himself at Alana's legs. His sweet face looked up at her, already etched with a concern far too mature for a 5-year-old. "Your face is hurt. It's okay, baby. Mama's fine." She scooped him up, holding him tightly. "We're going on an adventure." Mrs. Chen's gaze traveled slowly from Alana's bruised face to the black, idling Mercedes at the curb. "Alana, what on earth is going on?" "I got a new job, a much better one. We're moving to the employer's estate." The apartment took 15 minutes to pack. They truly didn't have much. The driver loaded every possession with mechanical, emotionless efficiency, producing a pristine booster seat from somewhere in the Mercedes trunk. The Ferretti estate was not merely a mansion. It was something entirely different, a world unto itself. They drove through ornate, black iron gates that silently opened upon their approach, continuing up a long tree-lined drive that seemed to stretch for miles into the rolling landscape. The main structure that emerged wasn't ostentatious or showy. There was immense power evident in its architectural restraint. Clean, perfect lines, faultless proportions. Everything spoke of generational wealth, impeccable taste, and absolute control. A woman in her 60s approached them from the entrance. Steel gray hair was pulled back severely into an elegant, authoritative bun. "Miss Brooks, I'm Sophia Duca, head of the household staff. Welcome." Sophia's sharp eyes briefly took in Alana's bruised face without comment, then softened immediately as they landed on Micah. "And who is this handsome young man?" "I'm Micah. I'm 5. Do you have any cookies?" Sophia's stern face cracked into a genuine, fleeting smile. "I believe the kitchen might have some. Shall we check after we get you settled?" She led them through corridors that smelled wonderfully of lemon polish and fresh flowers to a wing Alana hadn't even known existed. "This is the children's wing," Sophia explained gently. "It's been quiet for some time. Mr. Ferretti thought your son might enjoy it." She opened a door. Alana literally stopped breathing. It was a bedroom decorated in soothing blues and greens, featuring a twin bed shaped like a bright red race car, shelves overflowing with colorful books and toys, a small desk stocked with art supplies, and a sunny window seat overlooking gardens that stretched toward a distant tree line. "Is this a mine?" Micah whispered, awestruck. "If you'd like it to be," Sophia said softly. "Your room is connected." She opened an adjoining door to reveal Alana's quarters. A queen bed with linens that looked softer than actual clouds, a private, luxurious bathroom, and a sitting area with a bookshelf already stocked with titles she'd mentioned loving. Wait, she hadn't mentioned her favorite books to anyone here. "Mr. Ferretti is very thorough," Sophia said, reading her immediate confusion. "He researched your background, your education, your interests. He wanted you to feel comfortable. That surveillance should have been utterly creepy. Instead, it felt like being truly, completely seen for the first time in years." "When do I meet him?" "He'll send for you when he's ready. For now, settle in. Rest. There's a phone on the nightstand. Dial 1 for the kitchen, 2 for security, 3 for medical, 4 for me." After Sophia left, Alana stood in her new room, completely overwhelmed by the reality of it all. This simply couldn't be real life. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. *Dinner is at 7. Casual. "You'll eat with me. We have much to discuss." Micah will eat with the household staff. Sophia makes excellent chicken fingers. And Her heart kicked violently against her ribs. At 6:55, Alana stood outside the door Sophia had directed her to, a private dining room on the second floor. She knocked softly. Enter. The room was intimate and beautifully appointed. A table set for two, candles casting soft, flattering light, windows overlooking the darkening formal gardens, and Niccolò Ferretti standing by those windows. He had changed into dark slacks and a charcoal button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled precisely to his forearms. The casual attire should have made him less intimidating. It did not. Alana. He turned, and those powerful winter eyes swept over her. Please sit. She chose the chair farthest from him, placing maximum distance between them. He noticed, and something that might have been fleeting amusement flickered across his face. I don't bite, he said, taking the seat directly across from her. I'm not afraid of you. Yes, you are. And you should be. I am a very dangerous man, Alana Brooks. Then why am I here? Because dangerous men have many uses for capable women, and violence isn't one of them. He poured deep red wine into her glass. You are safe here. Your son is safe here. I need you to believe that completely. Why should I? Because I am going to tell you the unvarnished truth. I am not a good man. I run an organization that operates definitively outside the law. I have hurt people, I have killed people, and I have built an empire based on fear, unwavering loyalty, and blood. But I have rules. Strict lines I will not cross. And one of those lines is hitting women. One of those lines is harming the innocent. Beaumont Fitzgerald forgot that even in this city, there are powers greater than his money, and he made a critical error. What error? He hurt you in my presence. The words hung heavy and thick in the air between them. I don't know you, she whispered, utterly exposed. No, not yet. But you will. He took a slow sip of his wine. Tell me about Micah's father. She stiffened immediately. That's personal. Everything about you is personal to me now. I need to know if he'll come looking. If he presents a threat. He's not part of our lives. That's not an answer. Alana's hands clenched into fists beneath the table. He left when I told him I was pregnant. Signed away parental rights for $5,000. He's not coming back. Something truly dangerous flashed in Niccolò's eyes, swift as lightning. His name. Why? Because I want to know who abandoned you and the boy. It doesn't matter. He's gone. His name? Alana. There was pure, unadulterated steel under the silk now. The voice that didn't make requests only gave commands. Marcus Johnson. But please, don't. I won't harm him, unless he ever attempts to return. Then I will make him regret ever having been born. A soft knock interrupted them. Staff entered with dinner. Perfectly grilled fish, roasted vegetables, and crusty bread that smelled like heaven. They served with silent efficiency and vanished instantly. They ate in silence for several minutes. The food was incredible, but Alana could barely taste it over the rush of adrenaline. Your primary duties will be managing the household affairs. Sophia handles the staff below the surface, but you'll coordinate events, manage schedules, and ensure everything runs smoothly at a high level. You will also accompany me to certain functions, social events where I require a presentable companion. Like a date, like an escort in the proper sense. Nothing physical is required, simply someone intelligent and poised at my side. It should have sounded cold and transactional. Instead, it sounded ruthlessly honest. What happened to your mother? The question escaped before she could possibly stop it. His jaw tightened, the muscles flexing visibly. For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. She worked as a maid for a powerful family in Naples. One of the sons decided she was his property. When she refused him, he made her life hell, systematically destroyed her reputation, and got her permanently fired. She died in poverty 3 years later. His voice was conversational, frighteningly devoid of emotion, but his knuckles had gone stark white around the stem of his wine glass. I was 12, too young to protect her. I'm sorry. Don't be. I am not that powerless child anymore. No one will ever hurt you the way they hurt her. Not while you are under my protection. The intensity in his gaze made her breath catch painfully in her throat. You barely know me, she said softly. I know enough. I know you work yourself to absolute exhaustion for your son. I know you hold a degree in art history you can't use because you're too busy simply surviving. I know you have been invisible your entire life, and you are tired of it. He leaned slightly forward, his presence filling the space between them. I see you, Alana Brooks. All of you. The strength, the fierce intelligence, the pride you hide beneath layers of deference. And I am telling you, you don't have to hide anymore. Tears pricked her eyes again. She blinked them back furiously. The moment stretched, charged with want, fear, and terrifying possibility. A soft alarm chimed discreetly on his phone. He glanced down at it, and his expression instantly shifted back to something harder, distant. I need to handle something. Sophia will help you get settled tonight. Tomorrow we'll discuss your schedule in detail. He stood, buttoning his cuffs with precision. Sleep well. You are safe here. He was almost to the door when she spoke, her voice still low. Nicolo, thank you for this morning. For everything. Something fleetingly softened in his face. No one deserves to be struck, Alana. Especially not you. Then he was gone, leaving her alone with unanswered questions, half a glass of wine, and the dangerous flutter in her chest that whispered she was already in far deeper than she had ever intended. Alana woke to streaming sunlight and the melodic sound of her son's laughter drifting up from the gardens below. She found Micah with Sophia, happily helping plant flowers in beds that stretched like colorful rivers through the vast grounds. He was covered from head to toe in rich dark dirt, grinning like he'd just discovered pure treasure. Mama, look, I'm a gardener. When was the last time she had seen him this genuinely happy, unburdened by her anxiety? A throat cleared quietly behind her. Alana turned to find Nicolo standing at the garden's edge, dressed impeccably for business in a custom navy suit. But his attention wasn't on her. It was fixed on Micah. Her son looked up and waved a dirty little hand enthusiastically. Hi, I'm Micah. Want to plant flowers? Something truly extraordinary happened to Nicolo's face. The characteristic hardness melted away. The ice in his eyes warmed with a fleeting, unexpected softness. Perhaps later, he said, his voice losing its usual sharp edge. Right now, I need to borrow your mother. Nicolo gestured toward the sweeping path. Alana fell into step beside him. He's a good kid, Nicolo said finally, resuming his severe tone. He's my world. I can see that. They walked in silence for a moment before he continued, his tone turning clinical. There's a major event tonight, a fundraiser at the Metropolitan Museum. You'll accompany me. But I don't have anything to wear. Taken care of. A stylist will arrive at 2 this afternoon. They had reached a terrace overlooking a serene pond where bright koi flashed beneath the surface. Nicolo stopped, leaning against the cold stone balustrade. You need to understand something clearly, Alana. By accepting my protection, by taking this position, you have entered my world. A world with different rules and far greater dangers. You're saying I'm in danger? I'm saying that people who might have ignored you before will certainly notice you now. Some will try to befriend you to get close to me. Others, more maliciously, will try to hurt you specifically to hurt me. His eyes locked fiercely on hers. I need you to be smart, cautious. Trust absolutely no one except Sophia and the core security team. Fear whispered chillingly up her spine. Maybe this entire arrangement was a massive, fatal mistake. It's too late for that, he stated, knowing her thought process. You're mine now, in every way that matters to this world. He moved closer, his proximity intense. I'm giving you everything, Alana. Safety, security, a real future for your son. All I ask in return is your complete trust. Trust is earned. Then let me earn it. The burning intensity in his gaze made her breath hitch again. Give me time. Give me a chance. I promise you, you won't regret it. Okay, she whispered, her voice barely audible. He proceeded to lay out the rules with a chilling precision that belied the opulence surrounding them. She was strictly confined to the estate grounds unless specifically accompanied by his armed security detail. She must report anything, absolutely anything, unusual. and she must wear the panic button he had specially commissioned. A delicate, custom-designed bracelet that looked more like an antique piece of jewelry than a lifeline. "This seems excessive," she observed, holding up the delicate filigree cuff. "It's necessary. My enemies are creative, ruthless, and you." He paused, his eyes darkening with a sudden, intense vulnerability. "You are quickly becoming a weakness." "Yes." The stark admission hung between them, heavy and undeniable. Before Alana could fully process the weight of his words, his phone vibrated sharply. He glanced at the screen, and his expression instantly hardened, the vulnerability replaced by an impenetrable mask of business. "I need to handle this. The stylist will be here at 2. He moved toward the door, then stopped, pivoting back abruptly. His gaze swept over her, taking in the way the morning light illuminated her hair and the soft curves of her face. "Alana, you look beautiful in the sunlight. I wanted you to know that." The stylist arrived exactly at 2, bringing a small army of assistants and enough evening gowns to fully stock a high-end Fifth Avenue boutique. The selection process was swift and decisive. The gown they ultimately settled on was midnight blue silk, a fabric that shimmered like a calm, moonlit sea. It traced her figure perfectly, elegant and sophisticated, without crossing the line into provocative. At 7 o'clock sharp, Alana descended the main spiral staircase. Nicolo waited at the foot of the stairs, immaculate in a bespoke tuxedo, the black fabric emphasizing the breadth of his shoulders. When his eyes lifted and met hers as she reached the halfway point, he went perfectly, absolutely still. "Christo," he breathed out, the single word a fervent prayer or a curse. "You're stunning. The dress is beautiful only because you are wearing it." He extended his hand. It wasn't a demand, not a gesture of ownership, but an unmistakable invitation. She took it, and his fingers closed around hers. A current, swift and electric, passed between them, sealing the connection. The Metropolitan Museum of Art had been utterly transformed. Inside the massive halls, the air was thick with the scent of white lilies and old money. Candlelight flickered on ancient artifacts, and the strains of a refined string quartet mingled with the hushed, calculating voices of New York's elite. Alana stood in the magnificent temple of Dender as Nicolo's companion, acutely aware that every single eye in the room tracked her movement, the sudden, unexpected arrival on the arm of Nicolo Ferretti. "Ignore them," Nicolo murmured, his hand settling discreetly, possessively, at the small of her back. "They're jackals. Let them stare." He moved through the room with effortless power, introducing her to senators, brilliant tech moguls, and the matriarchs of venerable old money families. Each time, the introduction was delivered in the same smooth, firm cadence. "Alana Brooks, my estate manager and companion for the evening." No one in the room, of course, believed the fiction, but equally no one dared to question the man who spoke it. She was deep in conversation with a distinguished museum curator about Roman bronze work when she felt Nicolo tense, the muscles under his tailored jacket hardening instantly. His hand pressed slightly into her back, a distinct, cold warning. "Excuse us," he said smoothly, cutting off the curator mid-sentence and guiding Alana away from the cluster of people. "What's wrong?" she whispered once they were moving toward a less populated gallery. "Beaumont is here." He indicated subtly across the immense room. Beaumont Fitzgerald stood there, looking noticeably diminished, smaller than she remembered him. When his eyes flicked toward her, they slid away immediately, unable to hold her gaze. Beaumont then approached a group of powerful-looking men clustered in a far corner, all of them watching Nicolo with an overt calculation that made the hairs on Alana's arms rise. "Who are they?" Alana asked. "Competition. Rivals. Men who would like nothing more than to see me fall and take my place. They are wondering if you are a weakness they can exploit." "Am I?" "Absolutely. Which is precisely why you will never be alone, never unprotected, and never, ever vulnerable." One of the men separated himself from the group and approached them. He was tall, silver-haired, and dressed in a suit that screamed old European wealth. "Nicolo, so good to see you. And who is this lovely creature?" "None of your concern, Richard." Nicolo's voice dropped several degrees, the air around them frosting over. Walk away now. I'm simply being friendly. You're being intrusive. There's a difference. This is your only warning. Richard's smile turned sharp. Feral. So protective. She must be very special indeed. Nothing you won't learn if you don't leave. The tension stretched tight, taut enough to snap. Conversations nearby quieted as people registered the silent war being waged. Richard finally, reluctantly, backed down, but his eyes promised a swift and brutal retribution. We should leave, Nicolo said quietly, his jaw locked. Because of him? Because I am about to do something very violent if he looks at you again, and that would absolutely ruin your dress. The drive back to the estate was silent, punctuated only by the low growl of the engine. Nicolo stared out the window, radiating a palpable, controlled fury. Back at the mansion, he escorted her to her bedroom door. He stopped, turned toward her, the rage still burning beneath the surface. I'm sorry. You shouldn't have been subjected to that. You protected me. Always. The word was not just a promise. It was a sacred vow. His hand came up, cradling her cheek, his thumb tracing a feather-light path across her skin. You shouldn't have to, he said quietly, his voice rough. You deserve better than this world. Maybe, but this world has you in it. The words slipped out, raw and honest, before she could possibly recall them. His eyes widened, and something truly vulnerable, a flash of desperate hope, crossed his lethal face. Don't, he said softly, his breath stirring her hair. Don't give me hope, Alana. I am not a good man. What if I don't want what I deserve? What if I want? He silenced her with his mouth. The kiss was gentle at first, almost reverent, as if she were something infinitely precious that he was terrified of breaking. Then, control fractured. His lips moved over hers with a deep, controlled passion. Her hands fisted in the silk lapels of his tuxedo jacket, pulling him closer, demanding more. The kiss deepened rapidly, heat, desperate want, undeniable longing. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard, the moment shattering the carefully constructed walls between them. That was, she started trying to find her voice. A mistake, he finished, though his hand still cradled her face, his thumb rubbing soft circles on her skin. You work for me. You are under my protection. I shouldn't have, but you did, because I am weak where you are concerned. He stepped back, decisively breaking the charged silence. Go inside, Alana. Before I do something we will both regret forever. She wanted to argue, to demand they finish what they started, but the warning in his eyes was too serious to ignore. Instead, she slipped inside, but not before pressing her fingers to her lips, still tasting him, still feeling the electric shock of his passion. Tomorrow they would talk. Tomorrow everything would surely be clearer. She had no idea how terribly wrong she was. Alana woke hours later to her phone buzzing insistently on the bedside table. It was a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, he's coming for you. Get Micah. Safe room now. Her heart plummeted, stopping dead in her chest. She bolted out of bed and ran, instinct taking over, straight to Micah's room. He was sleeping peacefully, clutching his stuffed elephant, completely oblivious. Baby, wake up. We need to go. Mama? His sleepy, confused voice was enough to break her heart all over again. Footsteps pounded, heavy and urgent, down the hallway outside. The door to Micah's room burst inward. Nicolo stood there, completely transformed, dressed in full tactical gear, bulletproof vest, muted camouflage, and a rifle slung across his chest, looking every inch the dangerous, lethal man he truly was. Safe room now. He lifted Micah into his arms in one smooth motion and led them swiftly through the house toward a hidden panel concealed within the walls of his study. It opened to reveal a secure sanctuary. Steel-reinforced walls, extensive survival supplies, and sophisticated communications equipment. Sophia was already inside, waiting with essential items gathered. She took Micah from Nicolo's arms, wrapping the bewildered boy in a soft blanket. Where are you going? Alana demanded, dread paralyzing her. To end this, Niccolò cupped her face, his gaze fierce and absolute. Richard made his move. He thought he could take what's mine. He was wrong. Don't go. Please. I have to keep you safe. To keep him safe. He pressed a hard, quick kiss to her forehead. I'll come back. I promise you. Then he was gone. The steel panel sliding shut with an echoing finality. The hours that followed were an agonizing crawl. Micah eventually drifted back to sleep on Alana's lap, curled into a ball of innocence. Even through the thick, steel-reinforced walls, the sounds of battle filtered in, bursts of automatic gunfire, sharp shouts, and the heavy, stomach-lurching impact of explosions. Then, finally, an unnatural, absolute silence. The panel slid open. Niccolò stood framed in the doorway, covered in soot and blood. Some of it his, most of it belonging to others. His face was hard, lethal, a mask of grim efficiency. But when his eyes found Alana and Micah, the warrior softened, melting away instantly. You're safe, he said hoarsely, his voice raw from the fight. Alana carefully extracted herself from under Micah and threw her arms around him, clinging fiercely to his body. You scared me, she whispered into his neck. I scared myself. His arms came around her, tight and desperate, holding her as if she were the only thing grounding him to reality. They got closer than they should have, but they didn't reach us. He pulled back, his expression resolute. We need to relocate. Italy. I have a compound in Tuscany. We'll be safe there. For how long? Until this war is over. Until I've eliminated every single threat. However long it takes. 2 days later, they were airborne on a private plane bound for Italy. The Tuscan compound was an ancient, converted monastery perched high on a hilltop, surrounded by endless, shimmering olive groves. It was breathtakingly beautiful, profoundly peaceful, and heavily, invisibly guarded. Micah fell in love with it immediately. Alana found herself falling in love too, with the soft, rolling landscape, with the slower, sun-drenched pace of life, and irrevocably, with Niccolò. He was a different man in Italy, still innately dangerous, still the powerful leader, but deeply relaxed. He spent mornings teaching Micah simple Italian phrases, and spent their evenings dining with Alana on stone terraces under a blanket of brilliant stars. One night, 3 weeks after their arrival, he found her on a terrace, gazing up at the moon hanging fat and white in the night sky. Can't sleep? He asked, his voice low. Too much thinking. He settled beside her, their shoulders brushing. About what? About how 3 months ago I was cleaning houses and desperately worrying about next month's rent. Now I'm in Italy, living in a monastery, and falling completely in love with a man I shouldn't want but absolutely can't help wanting. His breath caught sharply. Alana, I know what you're going to say. That it's too dangerous. That I'm not good for you? That you should want someone safe? She turned to face him fully, her expression radiating conviction. But I don't want safe. I want you. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me. He stared at her for a long, heavy moment, his inner debate raging across his features. Then, he reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and pulled out a small, heavy velvet box. Alana's heart stopped, beating a quick, hopeful drum against her ribs. This isn't a proposal. Not yet. But it's a promise. He opened the box to reveal a magnificent ring. Antique, intricately designed, featuring a striking central diamond surrounded by deep blue sapphires. This was my mother's. The only thing I have left of her. And I want you to have it. Niccolò, I can't. You can. He took her left hand, strong fingers holding her steady, and slipped the ring onto her finger. It settled perfectly, feeling both foreign and profoundly right. It's a promise that I'll protect you, that I'll cherish you, that when this war is finally over and we are truly, unequivocally safe, I will ask you properly. Tears streamed down her face, tears of joy and relief. I could never regret you. You say that now, but there will be hard days. And on those days, I'll remember this moment. She touched the ring, then reached up to touch his face. I love you, Niccolò Ferretti. Cristo, Alana. I love you too. He pulled her into his lap, holding her tightly against him. I'll make you happy. I swear it. You already have. They kissed under the Tuscan stars, and for the first time in his life, Niccolò Ferretti, the dangerous man, allowed himself to believe fully in happy endings. The war came to a head 2 months later. Intelligence reports confirmed that Richard and his remaining allies were planning a final, devastating assault. The night before the anticipated attack, Niccolò came to Alana's room. If something happens to me, don't. She pressed her fingers firmly against his lips. Don't say it. I have to. If something happens, Sophia has instructions. She'll make absolutely sure you and Micah are safe. I would want for you, and I would want for you to live to raise our son. He paused, correcting himself immediately, his gaze seeking hers. Our son? Our son, she repeated firmly. Micah calls you Papa now. You're his father in every way that matters. Don't you dare leave us. I'll do everything in my power to come back. Then that's enough. She pulled him down for a fierce, desperate kiss. Come back to me. To us. The battle was brutal. Alana watched from the compound's sophisticated security center, monitoring the feeds that showed the assault unfolding in real time. She saw him fighting with lethal, focused efficiency, a machine of violence. She saw him take a bullet to the shoulder, flinching but continuing to fight, ruthless and unstoppable. Her nails dug deep into her palms until she drew blood. But Niccolò's meticulous preparation paid off. By dawn, Richard's organization had been decimated, the threat neutralized. Niccolò Ferretti stood victorious, covered in grime and dried blood. When he finally returned, Alana met him at the door, throwing herself into his arms before he could even stop her. You're hurt. I'm alive. That's what matters. 3 weeks later, he took Alana to a quiet vineyard nestled on the compound's edge. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of gold and rose. Micah played happily nearby with Sophia, chasing fireflies. I told you this wasn't a proposal, Niccolò said, taking both of her hands in his. I remember. I lied. He smiled, the real smile. A rare, genuine expression she had only seen a few times before. Alana Brooks, you've given me everything I never knew I desperately needed. A home, family, a reason to be better than I am. Will you marry me? Yes. There was no hesitation, no shadow of a doubt. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. He kissed her deeply as the sun disappeared beneath the Tuscan hills, and Micah cheered loudly in the background. 3 years later, Alana stood in the meticulously manicured gardens of their Tuscan home, watching her life unfold. Micah, now 8, was diligently teaching his baby sister the names of the flowers in Italian. Sophia Isabella Ferretti was 2 years old, with her mother's intense eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She toddled after her big brother, chattering happily in a musical mix of English and Italian. Niccolò emerged from the house, dressed in casual linen, and scooped Sophia into his arms. She squealed with pure delight. Papa, I learned 5 new flowers. 5? That's incredible. He pressed a lingering kiss into her dark curls, then caught Alana's eye over Sophia's head. The love there was so intense, so complete, that it still took her breath away after all this time. They had married in a small, private ceremony at the converted monastery. She had worn a simple, elegant dress. He had wept when he saw her. Micah had been the proud ring-bearer. Now, 3 years later, they had built something impossible. A life, a true family, a love that had survived violence, danger, and war. Happy? Niccolò asked, pulling her close with his free arm, resting Sophia on his hip. Deliriously, she answered honestly, leaning into his strength. Good, because I have a surprise for you. Another one. Toe? I found a position for you at the Florence Uffizi Gallery. Curator of Renaissance art if you want it. Her breath hitched, tears springing to her eyes again. Niccolò, that's my dream job. How did you? I have connections, and my wife is brilliant and qualified and deserves to use that art history degree. He smiled, that devastating, genuine smile. No pressure, but if you want it, it's yours. She threw her arms around him, careful not to crush Sophia. I love you so much. And I love you. Both of you. All of you. He looked down at his family. His intelligent, fierce wife and their two beautiful children, and felt the ghosts that had haunted him for decades finally, truly rest. My whole world. The dangerous man had found his redemption in love. The invisible woman had finally found her true place in the light. And together, they had built something neither had believed possible. A family, a future, a forever. This story has come to an end. If it touched your heart in some way, leave your like and share it with someone who also enjoys emotional stories. New stories coming soon. Until next time.